Well, I want to welcome you, Susan. Thanks for joining us. And I'm just going to let everybody kind of hear from you and your own mouth your background and why you got involved in Ohio politics.
Hi, my name is Susan Platt. I live in Seneca County up here in the northwest corner of Ohio. I've been a teacher for, I think this is my 45th year. I think. It's been a long time. I've already retired twice.
Hmm.
I became involved in 2020. First of all, I was teaching during the beginning of this pandemic. And March 13th, 2020 was one of the strangest days I ever experienced in my teaching career that started in 1978. We walked into school, we thought it was a normal day. And by 2 o'clock, we were all taken down to the cafeteria and told we had to go home and figure it out how we're going to teach. We all just looked at each other. Our poor superintendent, she's a conservative. And this was really awful for her too. So luckily I had already been teaching online, so I had some things I could do. I had a bag of tricks. So I got through it. But when I saw that DeWine kept moving the goalposts, first it was 2 weeks, then it was a month, then it was the rest of the year, then it was through the summer where we almost were normal. Then we went back to school and we all had to wear a mask. That was horrible. The first time I saw the kids walking down the hall, all of them in masks, it was unbelievable. After 43 years of teaching at that point, I'd never seen anything like that. And the kids had to comply, and we had to stand in our magic circles everywhere we went. It was all ludicrous. The kids down in the cafeteria had to stand in magic circles 6 feet apart to get their food. So that's why I became involved. I just thought I can't do this. When all of the demonstrations at the State House started, I started attending those. I made lots and lots of good friends. So that's how I became involved in this.
Hey, I just wanted to welcome Katie in. She
Hi,
Susan was just kind of telling us her background and why she got involved. So then fast forward to your you went home, you figured it out, you got involved.
Yeah, we got through it, but there was still a lot of us that were very upset. So then in 2021, in October, I found out that our health board had mandated the jab for every single employee or lose their jobs. It was just too much because everybody's thinking, who's next? The kids, the old people,
Yeah.
next. So we immediately started researching, went through everything, and found 3 or 4 really good reasons why the health board had to rescind that motion from October. We presented our information, and within 10 minutes, they had rescinded unanimously that motion. They said, well, we were just trying to help. We didn't know. The problem was that they didn't do any kind of research. So they had no idea what they were doing. That was the beginning. That was November 2021. We've been to every single meeting since then.
And so you work with a group of, you said about 12 individuals. So let's talk about kind of that think tank in your community and how you guys kind of came together and are working toward a common goal in your local area.
Some of us had known each other through the Republican Party. Some of the people I ran into again at the Capitol and realized, oh yeah, we're from Seneca County. We all started working together. We started a chat called Patriot Call, and all of it, more and more people became involved. We started sharing more and more information. Everybody in that group is a researcher. They're looking for truth. And sometimes we don't find the truth, but most of the time we find the truth that this whole thing has been nothing but a scam.
It has.
A way to waste money, a way to ruin people's futures for their children, their inheritance, everything. And we knew that right from the start. Then when DeWine kept moving the goalpost, 2 weeks, 1 month, shut down all the businesses, we just all had it. We're not going to put up with it. So when that opportunity came up with the health department, we were all on it. There were that night in November when that was rescinded, we had, I think, 30 people there. And the health board had no idea what to do or what had just happened, because they relied solely on the health director's information without doing any research, finding out it. First of all, it wasn't even legal. And in the process of doing this, she had violated the Ohio Open Meetings Act blatantly. And that's how she got this through.
So let's talk about, for those who don't know, and we'll watch this later, what is your health commissioner? What do they do? And why your, kind of local community came together and focused on that one position?
The health commissioner is an employee of the Board of Health. That's how it's set up in the Ohio Revised Code. They are to tell him or her what they should be doing, what they should be focusing on. But many times the people on the Board of Health, they don't have any idea they're supposed to be doing that. They don't even know what their mission statement is. So it's just, I really want to be on this board. Maybe they have ulterior motives. Maybe they just want it for their obits. Maybe they just thought it would be a fun thing to do. And I'm not pointing a finger at anybody or naming any names. But in the process of doing that, they let the communities down because they're not doing research. And if you get someone in that position who is a little bit like a tyrant and thinks that the employees, or that thinks that the Board of Health is his or her employees, it changes everything.
It does.
So the way I described it for people was that it's very similar to school systems in that the superintendent works at the pleasure of the board. And it's very much the same.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. It very much the same in a health district, or you know what I mean?
So basically the commissioner, and sorry to interrupt you, but the commissioner is taking it, being the head of the board, apparently.
Right. The commissioner is a school superintendent.
Yeah, they're flipping positions. Yeah.
And if the board members
delegate,
have a backbone and they are educated, they will, when a rather tyrannical leader comes to them and says, you have to mandate, I want to mandate the shot for every single one of my employees. They say, well, okay, because maybe that person says to them, this is for their health. I mean, have you heard that before?
In this together,
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same line that Hitler said. In German, it's für ihre Sicherheit. It's the same line. And people go along with it, especially older people. They're so scared. The media had scared everybody to death. So it was an easy fall. But when we came in with our information, that it was a unanimous rescinding of that vote the previous month.
So
what even made it more interesting is that she said she would give exemptions, medical exemptions, but December 1 came and she had never given any. They kept asking, we need our medical exemption. Yeah, I'll get it to you. There were legitimate reasons for a lot of people not to get it. Half of the nursing staff said they were going to quit if they had to get it, they would quit rather than get the shot. What's that tell you?
Right.
When you have medical people.
Right. I'm a nurse myself, so yeah.
Now, what did they do at the schools out there? Were they quarantining kids out there as well?
Oh, yes. This director made sure that we quarantined. Oh my God, it was a nightmare. I was teaching at the time. I still am teaching. One day you'd walk in, you'd have a whole class. The next day, one little kid in there had a family member that got Rona. So anybody that sat by this poor little kid had to go home and wait for a week or 10 days. At one point it was 10 days and it became 5 days. We had to put our chairs 6 feet apart, and where in the world, where that 6 feet rule came from, I don't know, but it didn't seem very legitimate.
No, because then they would go to, and I brought this up with our county commissioner, is they would then go to recess.
Yeah. Or to wrestling practice or basketball practice, or they hung out together like normal teenagers do. I teach high school. Normal teenagers hang out together. I did. You hang out with your friends because it's fun.
Yeah, and the second they leave, zero control. I actually have a recording for you. It's quite interesting of our Erie County Health Commissioner, and it's about 45 minutes, and and him telling us everything we're doing is probably not on the up and up.
Right.
Well, they knew it. They knew they ruined what they did to these kids who went home from March until September, and then they had to go back in a mask. What they did to the test scores, kids couldn't even, it was hard for some kids to focus to begin with. But then when you let them sit at home behind a computer, up in their rooms, I have a granddaughter that during that time, she had to stay home on her computer. She's a super student. She turned into a hermit in her room all the
As
time.
many did. As many
Yeah,
did.
mine too.
And so,
What
you know,
what they did to those kids' mental health.
Horrible.
It's
They knew it
terrible.
too. They knew it.
Yeah. It's
And
not
so-
normal development.
so
No.
in at least in my area, and I'm pretty confident in Katie's area, they, you know, the superintendent and the health commissioner would kind of kick the can when parents would
Oh, yeah.
go and say, this isn't a thing. You know, I've kept my child home. They have a fever. That's how we've kind of always operated.
Well, you know what I found, Karen, you know what I found interesting here to add to this real quick? It wasn't, I requested the communications between our superintendent and the Erie County Health Commissioner, right? From records requests from the school. And it's not those people that were communicating. They appointed a COVID liaison. Yeah. So they appointed this COVID liaison, and all the communication came through this person, which is usually the superintendent secretary.
Not the school nurse. Interesting.
No, one person in the district is in charge, is your COVID, I forget what it's called, but
Liaison. It's COVID liaison.
manager. And you need to get the name of that person and then request the communications between this person
And your
and
health commissioner.
Nurses are contracted out.
Yeah.
by
And that's
Mercy.
what we were talking about. So
Part of the
in-
district.
yeah, in many of the districts, you know, these third party vendors, you know what I mean, would then communicate with, you know,
Right.
the health district. So how did you guys kind of combat that kicking the can back and forth?
Well, I, as an employee, a high school teacher, I had to do what was requested of me. And it's just like trying to keep masks on kids in class. I didn't go there. If they couldn't breathe and wanted to take their mask off, fine. And it's just like down in the cafeteria, they could sit at tables, take their masks off and eat, but how does that make sense with the other? And it's just like that. When you walk in a restaurant, you have it on, but when you sit down, magically Rona will not attack you if you're under this line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my contention was, and I told you,
Invisible
I'm short. Rona's not going to get me. I'm only 5'2".
I love it.
That's funny.
Yeah, and my husband and I were kicked out of restaurants because we refused to put them. My husband, I mean, it was 3 feet from the place where you ask for a table,
Yeah.
over to the table. My husband said, "Really? We have to put our mask on to walk
Yes, you
3
do.
feet?"
Yes.
Yeah,
For
and
the
she said,
greater
"Yeah,
good.
you have to."
Yeah.
I said, "Well," and then my husband said, "No, we're out of here."
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So then how did you guys meet with that board? How did you guys interact with that board? And what was the kind of information that you were requesting that made an impact on that
You mean with the Board of Health in Seneca
Mhm.
County?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we just started attending every single meeting. We were there. We were taking notes. We were researching. When it came time for public comment, we made comments. We brought up things that were not taken care of. We brought up infractions of rules. And we became, I guess, a thorn in their side, but we felt we had to. I didn't even think about a health board until this Rona thing. I never even thought about the power they have over us. Then all of a sudden, we can't go to restaurants. We can't go to stores because we might get it. But you can go to the drive-thru at McDonald's, and you can go to Walmart, and you can go to Target, but the little stores, you can't go there anymore.
But you as a teacher
Like decimated
were
small businesses.
Yeah,
you
and
as a
I think it
teacher
was
are unessential.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you weren't essential, for example, I have a daughter who's a marketing director at a dealership. Well, her dealership was deemed essential. So she worked all the way through it. And then if you were ever in contact with someone, if you walked past someone that last week they were healthy and you walked past them and then the next week they got sick, you couldn't go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I asked for personal days and went to the January 6th demonstration in Washington with 4 million people, and we were all elbow to elbow, had a great time. I never got sick, but somebody found out in the district that I had gone. So I had to sit home for a week and make sure I didn't get Rona.
Oh, wow.
But I still
Isn't that
But
funny?
they could
But
go
that's
see
what it turned.
football. But they could go see football in massive
That's what it
stadiums.
turned into, though. It turned on tattletelling. Like this.
Yeah, it was like the SS in East Germany, in East
Yeah.
Berlin. Oh my
Yeah.
God. I saw her talking to somebody that might be a patriot. Yeah, that's what it turned into. But
Yeah,
luckily,
I spoke at the board meeting, and as soon as I did that, the next week, that Monday, my daughter was being quarantined, and then my other daughter. You know what I mean? And they knew we were fighting,
yeah.
so it was like every time we spoke, then they were quarantined. And no offense, think about how these kids feel. They're scared to cough around people now.
Yeah,
I know. Everybody's afraid. Oh my God, I have to sneeze. What am I going to do?
yes.
And 5 years ago, I never thought I would go to work sick, sinner me, and just stay away from people. I mean, I wasn't going around licking toilets. Come on.
Little dirt don't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
went
it
to
was-
every
it was-
meeting, you were researching the you were researching their
researching the
information.
shots, we were researching the disease, we were researching everything, going everywhere to find anything we could to put in our notes. And we have pages and pages of notes. And what didn't take long to quickly realize it was all a scam.
Right.
I mean, look at the people with myocarditis now. We told the Board of Health about the myocarditis and the heart issues probably in March of this year.
So that's
And they
fantastic.
looked
So
at
you were kind of combating that disinformation then with
yes,
kind of the opposite side of that debate.
right. We were
And as it was
presenting
coming
the other side.
in,
And they looked at us like we were nuts.
Like you had two heads.
Yeah. And one woman, she was so upset. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to name any names, but she was so upset that she said, someday you people are going to be very upset and find out that these are crimes against humanity. And where are we right now?
COVID
I mean,
amnesty.
I'm hearing that bantered around.
they're trying to do amnesty at the moment, and there's a reason why they're trying to give amnesty, but I don't think there's amnesty when it comes to Nuremberg.
No. And when you look at the Nuremberg trials, you couldn't, a former Nazi, even somebody that was a guard at a camp, could not walk in and say, I was just doing my job. That didn't cut it. You can't say I was just doing my job and I had to give these people shots.
I was just
Well,
following my orders.
You know what gets me is these directors and these commissioners don't even have a health degree or license.
No.
And isn't it Ohio code? And I think you would know this. Isn't it Ohio code to quarantine somebody? You have to be a physician.
Licensed.
Right. If you look in the Ohio Revised Code, there's a huge section on health boards. And Karen and I were just talking. The health boards were started in 1920-ish.
Okay.
And then Karen said, what about that pandemic? Well, the pandemic was in 1918. And then go back 8 or 9 years earlier was the Flexner report. Look at the beginning of the 1900s, the 20th century, how things changed in the medical field after that Flexner report. Suddenly, anybody that did homeopathic or natural cures, they were out. They weren't allowed because Rockefeller sent Flexner out. He sent Flexner out to interview these people at these schools. Half of them shut down, I think, after that Flexner report was released. So then we no longer had access. People, I mean, there were grandmothers still using the old remedies, of course, but it changed things. And then we had health departments, which were set up to preserve the health of the community. It's a Department of Health, not a Department of Illness, which is what it has become now. It's all about illness.
Yes, and they're tying it to the schools now. They're marrying the school with the health department is what they're working
Yes,
on. And honestly, it comes up to this present day with SB 178 on the House floor. That's where they're heading. Community schools now, and it's the whole child, whole community is
right.
the framework.
It's really sad. I mean, I've been in education 45 years and wow, have things changed
Yeah.
so much. From when I started in 1978, maybe it's been 44, but from 78 to present, and I'm working full time now. It's a huge change. And the ODE has had way too much influence.
Yes.
Our
And I
Department of
think we need to
Education.
get more on a local
Yeah.
control level. What do you think about literacy? Like this was intentional to lower.
Yes. Yes, you're right. It was intentional. It's part of that big reset. We want to take down this to bring this up. It's like the EU, the European Union. They took these small, underperforming Eastern European countries and they want to bring them up and bring the other ones down. So there's a level there. It's the same kind of thinking. It's this new world order. And I know I sound like a crazy old conspiracy.
Oh, they've been talking
Like,
about the NWO since, I mean, Bush said it in what, the 80s and
yeah.
said before then by others. So it's not I mean, Reagan.
Right. And still again, going back to the European Union, the two strongest, richest countries are still the same, France and Germany, and the other ones are minor. We have family in Romania. Romania has a lot of natural resources. They were able to support themselves. Now they wanted to become part of the European Union. Their upper echelon did. So now they can't sell eggs to the people in the community. They can't sell their milk. They've made them throw things away. So it's just there's that leveling. I don't know. They lose their autonomy.
Well, that's the point. They want global. I mean, that's the where we're talking
Yeah.
stakeholders. Now, I wanted to ask you just while we're on here, I don't know if it has to do with much with health. It does kind of because the CDC thing, but stakeholders, how do you feel about that language in health, in education, when referring to like the public at large, like, and even parents, they say, we worry about the stakeholders.
What do they mean by stakeholders?
I mean,
that's kind of a crazy word, isn't
yeah.
it?
Well, it's a business term. I would
Right.
think somebody
Yeah.
that has a return on whatever the investment they're putting into, but my child
Right.
is my investment. That's my
Yeah, their ROI. We're talking about return on ROIs when we're talking about stakeholders and what is their stake in it. I guess those that are monetarily contributing are more vested than maybe those of us who are consuming the product.
we'll think they're making workers now, not thinkers.
So what that says to me is that the parents they're not the stakeholders. The parents are just those who produce the little sheep to come up the line and do what the big guys say. I had never thought about the stakeholders, but the more
we see it a lot with the health stuff. So I'm like, it's like, our kids, mental and social and emotional and physical. And it's like, you guys can't get these kids to pass, majority of them to pass a literacy and a mathematics test.
A third grade guarantee, reading guarantee, let alone.
They just lowered it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know, again, you have that higher level and you're just bringing it up to each other. Mm-hmm. You're bringing down the top, bringing the bottom up a little. I was an elementary student a long time ago, and we did a lot more intensive things in elementary and in high school than what they're doing now. And the standards were higher.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the grading scales. You had to have a 94% to get an A. Now it's 89 or 90. Mm-hmm. And of course, a teacher can skew a test to get what he or she wants. So,
well, what I found shocking too on this kind of path is they also can look at their social
so emotional well-being and all that,
and base their say Susie got an A, but you think Susie doesn't listen, she has authority, has authority issues, you know what I mean, goes against the grade. Right. Well, now Susie's A goes to a C+. I'm just feeling
yeah we used to call that the conduct grade. And that had its own little slot on the right-hand side of the grade card, and it didn't affect because
overall.
Yeah. I often got over there on the conduct. I didn't get A's on that because I talked too much. Go figure, right?
So you said you had 12 things that anyone can do to affect a local board.
Right.
So let's
you
talk
want me to
about
start?
those. Yeah. Yeah.
The first thing to do is go to your local board's website and just go through it top to bottom. Look at their mission statement. Look at who's on the Board of Health. Look at what their credentials are. Look at the person running the Board of Health. Look at the finances. Look at the extra programs they put out, their vaccination programs, anything they do with the schools. It's really important. Just comb through it. Today I pulled up, I don't know, 5 or 6 counties, health board websites. I found Ottawa County had a very good website. They had everything. There were some counties over there beside Indiana that had some really good websites. Some counties, and I can't even remember what county it was, had not even updated their board minutes since 2020. They didn't have anything on there. You couldn't research who their board members were. The best websites had the bylaws for the health board right there on the website, which is really good. And then you can find out.
Well, and let's talk about public bylaws, because we have said every public board or body has a set of bylaws, and their bylaws.
Yes, you have to operate within those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I mean, you can make it really wiggly and squishy until somebody brings it to your attention what you've done. And at that point, if they've done something wrong, not according to their bylaws, the decision they made within that is now null and void. But unless somebody brings it up.
Right. And holds their feet to the fire. So it's essentially their bylaws are their standard operating procedures within those meetings. And and holding them accountable to those standards. Robert's rules.
This one is, I've been studying this for the last couple of weeks. Robert's Rules of Order. Lots of good stuff in there. I know it can be looked at as only a guideline, but
so hard to read. It's so hard to.
I know. I just
want to fall asleep. Right.
I do one section at a time. I take notes and then I highlight things. So, I mean, I'm used to doing that. I have a master's in French, so I'll do that. I don't mind. That's kind of thing I like.
I'm motivating myself because every time I started, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I can read stuff, but it's just.
So the Robert's rules helped you kind of follow those meetings. So the bylaws make sure that that they are operating within their own set of standard operating procedures. And then your Robert's rule is so that you can follow the meeting and the motions and the things that you're doing and putting forward.
And to make sure they do it right. Which, in fact, I mean, State Central Committee doesn't follow Robert's rules. I know a lot of people have problems with that. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to have it in your bylaws, you better know it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things. Robert's, and you need to know when the bylaws were revised and what was changed. Number 3, the Ohio Revised Code. Go to that, Google it, Ohio Revised Code, health districts. And just go through it. They've got, I don't know how many pages, probably 20 pages in that, just about the health districts, how they're supposed to operate, how they spend their money, how they keep their money. And by the way, the treasurer of your county does, and the auditor, they are the ones that manage the money that the Board of Health has. And remember, that is, again, taxpayer money, either federal, state, or local. And on your real estate taxes, you pay some money to the Board of Health. So we are a stakeholder in all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, because who pays the federal taxes?
The community.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Ohio Revised Code is really informative. Go to that. Just a light, easy reading right before you go to bed at night, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then start using public records requests. Get the minutes of meetings, a meeting where you think maybe they made a decision that wasn't right. you know, you don't even have to put your name on a public records request. If you send an email and you don't want to release your name, you want just your email on there, you can do that. That's also in the Ohio Revised Code. And something to correlate with it is the Attorney General's website. If you put in a Google on Ohio Open Meetings Act, it takes you straight to Yoast and the section of that that's all about how you do it.
That is on our website, by the way, under sunshine laws, all of that information that you just referenced. Just go there. You can click all the links and it's all the how-to videos and
Ohio
it could not be any easier to make,
yeah.
You know, it could not be any easier to make these people do their jobs.
So how did you combat the, 45-day give or take, because oftentimes I know when we request things, we have a hard time getting what in whole. I may get a part of what I'm asking for, or what they want, the nugget they want to give me. But how did you kind of combat those?
Well, we never had that problem. It says in the Ohio Revised Code in a timely manner. And actually, they were very good about it. They sent the requested information within a day or two, maybe a week at the tops.
Okay.
So we
maybe because it's schools with us, you know what I mean? And they already know what we're looking for. But I always say retention schedule.
Yeah, I requested that to the retention schedule.
So what is the retention schedule for those who don't know?
That's how long they're supposed to keep all of their records.
And what records you can request. And what they actually have to keep. So if they're saying you want to report, but they don't know what the report is called, and I don't know what the name of it, you can look on that report and kind of, it might help you a little bit.
The Ohio Revised Code also says that the person who is being requested records from, if they don't already have the records, they are not obligated to produce them. So you have to be very specific. Ask for the meeting minutes from October 21, 2022. And they'll have those. Oh, back to the website. Some of those counties are very, very current on their minutes. Some aren't. I think I already mentioned that, but some of them already have their November meetings minutes up. One other thing, make sure that you know the nominating process for people that go on the health board. There's something called a district advisory council. It's usually one of the commissioners and several other people in the community. Our district advisory council meets once a year in March. And if there's an opening on the board, that's when they take care of it.
And how did you find that information, Susan?
We have a family friend who, he just knows everything.
Okay.
He does. He just knows everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So we go to our friend and say, hey, what about this district? Okay, let me tell you about that. So, and he knows, I think he's an attorney in his other life. So, sometimes some of those board positions are nominated by a particular city, some by a township. Some of the boards want to have everybody or have different parts of the county represented, which would make sense. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a PhD in something. It can be a normal human being living in the county with a perspective.
Yes, because even on the Ohio Board of Nursing, there are those that have, high level degrees and those that have STNAs and those that have no medical background. They're
because it's necessary to have all those perspectives.
Yes.
If we were dominated only by medical people, and I'm not trying to, I know nurses are not the same as doctors, but if we only let doctors make all of our decisions, wow, we'd still be wearing masks because we all know there's a money exchange with the COVID.
And I have always told my patients, you are your best advocate. So you need to advocate for what you need. So, those are important things to remember, even at a health board level, that, you are your best advocate and you need to advocate.
That's right. You.
Right. And we've talked, haven't we, Katie, about lobbying, being a lobbyist for our own communities.
Yes, in your backyard, that's where you start, and that's what will affect you at the top.
And then find out if among the board members, if they all represent your county's values. Because in our county, we're not what you could call a go along to get along county. There are a lot of people, no, not doing it, because we have a lot of farmers, and we have a lot of people that live in rural areas. We do, all our family does, and I don't know, maybe we take more time to think, but we're not accepting everything as soon as it's said. We think about it.
Right.
I think we're similar in that aspect with all three of us. We're in a little bit of, we're not putting up with that, you know?
Yeah. We're living a happy life. I'm not going to let you tell me that now I have to wear a mask in my house in the bathtub. Come on.
Or that I can't gather with my family for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean,
that was horrible.
Ridiculous.
And people
started family fights. I mean, that really started some stuff between families as well. Like, Susan, I'm not wearing a mask in your house. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. Well, then don't come. Well, okay, I won't.
Right. And their families
I already mentioned.
Day.
Yeah. I already mentioned Open Meetings Act. That's important, but you already know about that. You have this. I think the health board has to decide if they're a board of health or a board of sickness and act accordingly. And you can do that by looking at their mission statement and bringing it up to them and saying, hey, your mission statement says this. How are you making these things happen? Because the mission statements are nice, they're unicorns and rainbows, and we're going to do everything perfectly. But when you look at it, you can see that they're focusing on vaccinations, and they're focusing on bad health and drug abuse.
I think
they're not really focusing on health.
We've kind of looked at legislation. We saw a concurrent resolution. I can't remember if it was in the Senate or the House, declaring, what was it? Declaring mental health a public health crisis. And so,
I believe I want to say the Senate.
Yeah, declaring discrimination, a public health crisis. When we
it's a way for them to come in and control.
Living out these equity agendas, and it becomes very, very scary, I think, as a nurse, for me to watch some of this play out at a higher level and a much higher pay grade than I ever was, but I can see exactly where it's going. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out.
No, it doesn't.
Anything a public health crisis leads to your public health districts.
Yeah. And again, it's we're doing it for your health. That's the worst thing they could say to make them look like tyrants.
Well, absolutely, because I didn't ask you.
Yeah, I don't want your help. Leave me alone.
Yeah, what happened to that autonomy?
Yeah, that land of the free, we the people. And another thing is to find out what kind of adherence to the state organizations your director has. Does he or she really think that anything the Ohio Board of Health says has to be done? And what kind of position does he or she perhaps have in that organization? That tells you a little bit more. Then I have one other thing, maybe 3 meetings ago, maybe 2 meetings ago. We are paying a third third-party vendor to do contact tracing. Why are we contact tracing?
Do you know what company that was?
Yeah, I don't know the name of the company, but the Board of Health is paying a third-party vendor to do contact tracing, and we were told this company is not doing it right now, but we have to pay them to keep them on board. We have to pay one individual, I think it was $50 or $60 an hour.
No,
wow.
Because I found this out in 2021 and I haven't circled back to it just because we got into all the education stuff. But yeah, they are paying a third party. And, I want you to listen to this recording I send you of our county commissioner, because he mentions this, that, they had to give money back to the state as well. When
Partners in
after
Health, it was Partners in Health was the third party vendor that was contact tracing in Ohio.
Yeah, but they had to give money back to the state for some, he explained it, but it was like, they spent so much, but they had to refund the state for something and it hurt them. But when you listen to it, pay attention to that part, because it was,
Yeah. It was money they shouldn't have had to begin with. We did 10 years ago, we didn't have that revenue stream.
No,
and we all
why
got
do we
along
need
just fine. They've lost a lot of nurses, and the organization wanted to go to a third-party vendor to hire nurses. Well, they were only paying nurses $22 an hour. I mean, that's pathetic. And this outside third-party vendor would be paying $55 or $60 an hour to the nurses. So why not just give the nurses that are there a raise?
Right.
What is wrong with that? Split the difference. Give them a $20 an hour a raise. Take them from 22 to 42. I bet.
Yeah, how do you think your nurses feel that have been with you for so long, and these travel nurses are coming in making $50 an hour? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we really hammered that one, because that was wrong.
Well, it's just
why do you want to get
responsible when you have people in your community that are already working these jobs, and you're going to, you know what I mean, pay other people double that have no stake in your community.
No,
they don't live
they're
here,
not stakeholders, are they?
No.
They don't live here. They don't care. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but they're not. I'm sure they're not all horrible people, obviously.
No.
But
and I don't
they're
think
not.
No, but I mean, it's like you see the opportunity, anybody would take it. But I'm looking at the hospital administration. What?
Yeah.
This is insane. And then we hired somebody who doesn't do any contact tracing. Got to keep him on board. It was $50 an hour, maybe. I don't have the number right off the top of my head. Maybe it was 45, but we all went, what? So you see, if you're there at the meetings, you hear these things, you get the wheels rolling, and then when it comes time for public comment, you can make your comments about it. But if you're not there, the public doesn't have an input.
Somebody was saying this earlier too. I think it was a city meeting. I like, 6, 7, maybe 6 people showed up though. But then, the next day, all of a sudden, all the stir on Facebook, all the stir in the city, all the stir in the city groups about what happened. So it's like, people may not be present, but if you get people in that room, it takes one person to say something, and then everybody else joining it.
Exactly. It's like having 6 newspapers there, because your Facebook account can actually be your own news source, news venue, whatever you want to call it. And it gets especially if you have a lot of friends in the community, it gets the word out. And when people find out, they're not happy.
Oh, no. No. And that's my thing, is when people actually start, waking up a little bit more and seeing what's going on, it's going to be disastrous.
Yes. It's already, do you listen to Dirt Road Discussions on Telegram?
No, but I
think Road Discussions on Telegram. The guy he's funny, and it's kind of like, he's not Rush Limbaugh. I still miss Rush Limbaugh every day at noon.
Love Rush Limbaugh. I grew up on him.
I've listened to him for so many years, but Dirt Road Discussions, he just throws the truth out there. Truth bombs everywhere. He's worth a listen. If you have,
I will definitely. I brought it down.
Telegram on your
So
phone.
you don't feel?
Yes, I do.
I mean, I know that you teach and you have a master's, and you're not an expert on health, which for me is encouraging to other people. But you were able to learn and understand and share the responsibility of the research and understanding that among your 10 to 12 people, so you could kind of talk it out and say, okay, I didn't understand it that way, how did you understand it?
Right. It was our little group, well, I guess 12 people. I don't know if that's little or not, but
I don't think it's little.
we have Patriot Call and everything goes on there and we discuss it and we push it back and forth. And here's something I want everybody to look at and we'll listen to it. We put videos on there, and because everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's down their own avenue. I'm looking at COVID, or I'm looking at the shots. I'm looking at myocarditis.
But not sharing, not, that's kind of what we do with the election integrity stuff. We weren't going to do anything with it, but we're like, give it to everybody else. Let people dig.
Knowledge is golden. It's just, and when people find out, they can't believe that they've been schnookered like that for so long. But
well, and I keep saying that it sounds
change.
So bizarre that you don't believe it until you kind of come to it and you're like, holy cow, that person was 100% right. That is happening.
I know.
Right? I mean, that's been my experience.
Got the looks.
Like,
oh my God, the looks. Right. You are a crazy old lady.
Right.
Well, why don't you do some reading?
Right.
And find out for yourself.
Right. Don't take that. And that's what Katie and I have said multiple times. Don't take our word for it. Like, go find out for yourself, because we're no experts. We're learning, and we're going to learn.
We're just the moms.
I think I need to.
That's right. My most important job right now is grandmother.
Yeah.
This is all about the world I want my grandkids to live in.
I want kids and Karen's grandson. You know what I mean? Like, I just like to say that you're grandma because you're so young. So I'm like, Karen's grandma. So I'm like,
I don't mind. It doesn't matter.
I got 5 grandkids and I want them to have the same childhood, teenagehood that I had, where, oh my God, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. And they are not experienced at these schools are like, prisons, and the partnership between the health department and the school is going to create more damage. And
I think that it's going to intensify and become more solidified over, into 2025. And that's kind of what Susan and I had talked about too. Their group is looking into health. We're looking into schools, and those are the two things that are going to collide here in Ohio.
We're marrying each other.
Yeah, they really are marrying each other. And so we look forward to, that input going forward too, because it's going to be very, very important for people to get engaged and get involved in their local health districts, and know who their commissioner is, know who's on their health board, know what their credentials are. Because
it's too bad that we didn't know, but things were going along well, and we had our lives, and we're working our jobs.
Right.
We didn't worry about it, but now we have to. And one of the comments after the second meeting and all the research we had done, one of the women said, we're doing their jobs. I said, I know, but here we are. This is what we have to do. We have to continue to do their jobs until they take the
responsibility of it themselves, or leave to get somebody in there that wants to do it, and should want to do it, because that's another thing. Each of us should give, these meetings are once a month?
Yes, once a month.
Okay, so once a month, and then it's a couple hours once a month?
Hour and a half, maybe.
Okay, and then let's say an hour and a half of research outside of there, 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you could give up 5 hours of your month to do something good that's going to benefit the whole. You know what I mean?
Right. It's going to benefit your community.
Yeah, pay it forward. And our grandparents did it. Our parents did it. But, we need to continue it, or...
Well, and I think that goes back to school. And I love that Susan is a teacher. We're not teaching our kids that civic responsibility to engage our government at this level, right?
No, we're teaching them to sit down.
I try to find ways to teach them to don't always believe what everybody tells you. Question it, look at things, find your own truth. Now, this is my first year at school where I am, and I'm probably not going to go back next year because it's time to retire, but for the third time. But
third time's a charm.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable enough to start my, I don't do it overtly. I do it in a covert way, as an example. I have one thing I tell the kids, don't be part of #LitterBoxLoserLife. do as much as you can, learn as much as you can. Don't go and do only the minimum. So I try to find ways. We lead by example, right?
Yes, because you're a good
Yes.
teacher.
It's the same thing with Christian values. You lead by example.
Mhm.
Yes.
And
Follow.
if you make a good example to the kids, they think, wow, that's a fun place to be. Everybody's happy. I had one of the kids tell me, your classroom's kind of churchy. And I said, kind of churchy. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, we're not allowed to say mean things to each other. And you don't accept some topics of discussion in here. I said, well, yeah, that's true, because I don't want somebody to go home and tell their mother that was being discussed when it's the mother's job to do that.
Absolutely. And that's the line that's being crossed. Because no offense, I told a teacher, I think I kind of went off on her. I was in a bad mood that day. But I was like, you're crossing iron. She's known you for 3 months. So my daughter better than me after 3 months. Like every year, beginning of the year, she decides to mess around. First quarter, she does it every year. There's a pattern of behavior since she was in. Second quarter comes in, she gets her ish together because she doesn't like the fact she's not doing well. But she messes around, and I'm like, and if you're weak, no offense, like you give her any leeway, she's gonna manipulate you. And I've told you that from the beginning.
Right.
Don't tell me that she's a problem when I know my kid and I know what she's doing, and I'll address it. But if you don't tell me, what am I to do? She's not gonna listen to you. You're a stranger.
Yeah, and kids are gonna get away with as much as they can, just like adults do.
Yes. Yes. And I think
unfortunately it's Lillian.
And I love that you tell your students, don't listen to what people tell you, because we've learned over the pandemic that they'll tell you what benefits, right, their pocket
Them.
But really what benefits you should be advocating for more in your community. So we're coming into about 4:54. I just want to kind of give you a last word and tell you how grateful we are, and all the topics you hit that Mean Street is 100% about. We're about Robert's Rules. We're about bylaws. We're about meeting at the local level and engaging on the local level, and making those information and document requests about things you want to learn more about. And we thank you guys for all your efforts, and we look forward to collaborating with you in the future. So tell us, any last words as we kind of check out here.
Be brave enough to make the public records request. It's not to say, I gotcha. It's like you said, to learn more about it. We have to, as a community, I don't remember being taught about health boards back 100 years ago in high school either.
No,
it's just something that you come across. It used to have such a small impact on people's lives. Now with the pandemic, it became much greater. Just be brave. Go out there, be brave, go to meetings, ask questions. That's what I have to say.
Even if your voice, that's what I always say. Even if your voice quivers, say it, do it.
Yep. You won't be sorry. You will be sorry that you didn't say something.
True.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. And
thank you. I really appreciate it.
You
are so welcome. I'm kind of addicted to this thing, so I won't quit.
Well, awesome. And we're going to share with you our information that we have with that I've gathered through Erie County. Maybe that would help, just taking a look and see what Erie's doing. I will say the reporting I'm going to send you is the most interesting, because it was when they first quarantined my daughter, and I have the superintendent and the commissioner and how that relationship played off of each other. It was quite interesting. So anybody, the Sunshine Records stuff that she was referring to earlier, go to www.mainstreetoh.com and those resources are in there, and just click the links. And
we also have a link to Robert's
County
Rules,
County
Profiles, Robert's Rules, Sunshine. So all the things that Susan touched on, we have that on our website to make it easier for everyone. Thanks so much, Susan. We appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Let me know if there's anything I can help with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Bye. See ya.